Spokane Storytime. So who remembers the restaurant Commellini's? Because a lot of people have fond memories there, but were the legends about Albert Commellini true? Let's find out. So Albert Commellini migrated here from Tuscany, Italy when he was just 13 years old, where he started working for the railroad company in Chicago, and that's how he ended up here in Spokane. And then by the 1920s, he opened up what was called the Italian Importing Company, where his sister Lita would soon join him, where she opened up a lunch counter. And then in the mid-1930s, they opened up the Ambassadors Club on East Sprague, which was a high-end supper club and dance hall where they would throw these extravagant parties. And then in 1939, he bought this 140-acre chicken ranch up here in North Spokane in the area we know as Dartford. So all these old buildings you see back here used to be a massive chicken ranch. And they used to actually have over 100,000 chickens here on the property. And that's how Lita became famous for her chicken cacciatore. But what about all that Spokane lore you would hear about Marilyn Monroe, Joe DiMaggio, JFK, Al Capone? Are there secret tunnels below the restaurant? Let's find out. So the tunnel below the property that connected the two buildings was actually more like a crawl space. It wasn't really used for moonshine or anything because the timeline didn't really match up. The restaurant opened in 1941. Prohibition had already been over for years by then. But what a lot of people don't know is Albert Commellini was secretly a rum runner during Prohibition, and he would make trips to and from Spokane to get whiskey, and he would stop right here along this very creek where he fell in love with this property. In fact, he loved it so much he came back nearly 20 years later and bought it all up. But did Albert Commellini know something we didn't? Because in 2019, they were doing some digging at a nearby property up the road, and they uncovered a series of underground tunnels, and buried in the hillside at the base of those tunnels was a bunch of moonshine bottles. So maybe there was some truth to the legend. And apparently Marilyn Monroe and JFK did dine here because it was such a remote location, discreetly placed up here in the Pacific Northwest. And baseball legend Joe DiMaggio even ate here when he came to town for the opening ceremony of the Joe Alvey Stadium. And Al Capone never came to Spokane. It was his brother, Frankie Capone, who actually came in 1936 because he was inquiring about buying the Ambassadors Club. But unfortunately, a year later, it mysteriously burnt down. And the Italian Importing Company here was really well known for importing pasta and spices and oils, but it was also secretly known for importing yeast and sugar to help make moonshine. And in the 1920s, believe it or not, Albert Commellini was a deputy sheriff for the Spokane County, and his job was to raid speakeasies and confiscate booze. So you could imagine that probably wasn't properly destroyed. In fact, it ended up in the hands of a lot of the wealthy elite socialites here in Spokane. And they ran this restaurant right here for nearly 40 years up until 1977 when Lita had a stroke. And then after that, the management changed hands several times over the years up until 2009 when the family took it back over and they remodeled it into the Commellini Estate, which is now an event venue where they host weddings and they do outdoor movie nights, artisan markets, and they even do cooking classes where you can learn how to make pasta just like how Lita used to make. And now you know.